Mira Business FM.
Welcome back to Mira Business FM. This is DayBreak with me, Inzamam Rashid. It's just gone 10 minutes past 1. A very warm welcome to you wherever you are listening from, broadcasting to you live from the Art of Living Mall, live streaming on YouTube right now. And as I mentioned, we've got an interesting conversation over the next 50 minutes or so, or 40 minutes or so. We're going to be talking a little bit about design, because Dubai is no longer just a hub for business, for finance and for tourism, which it has done so well over the last few decades. It's increasingly now becoming a home for creativity and design. And each year, the Dubai Design Week cements the city's reputation as a leader in global creativity and economy, from cutting-edge architecture to sustainable product design and innovative urban planning as well. The UAE is cultivating a design identity that's both rooted in tradition but also boldly forward-looking. This November, Dubai Design Week will once again bring together some of the world's most exciting creative minds alongside rising generation of homegrown talent who are shaping very much the cultural and aesthetic landscape of the region. And it's also a celebration of ideas, but also a platform that positions Dubai as a serious player on the international design map. And that's something that we really want to delve into. And so I'm delighted to be joined by Natasha Carella. She's a design expert, a commentator as well on design, but also runs the Dubai Design Week. It's a pleasure to have you, Natasha. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Just tell us a bit about Dubai Design Week first and the importance of it.
So Dubai Design Week, we celebrate our 11th edition. Wow. It's a kind of key moment in the calendar, taking place every November. So our next dates are November 4th to 9th. And it's really an opportunity for convening regional and international designers. And when I say design, I'm talking like a plethora here of like architects, graphic designers, interior designers, urban planners, through to creative practitioners and thinkers, through a series of different interventions and programs. It takes place in Dubai Design District, which is a purpose-built hub where you'll find over 1,000, I think it is, including ourselves, businesses, firms, all kind of like at the intersection of design, art, and also fashion as well, because I think that there's a lot of like overlaps in these spaces these days. It's 6 days, and some of the kind of programming that we have is really kind of intersecting between exhibitions. We have the D3 Architecture exhibition in partnership with the Royal Institute of British Architects, bringing the likes of Zaha Hadid and Foster's to talk about different themes around sustainability and community. We have large-scale installations. These are sort of like architectural infrastructure or design objects, and an opportunity for sort of designers to think big and a little bit more creatively dotted around the district. We have different sort of special presentations, over 60 workshops from children through to sort of master classes, as well as our anchor event, Downtown Design. This is a fair. It's the largest and leading fair in the Middle East, which brings together around 300 participants.
Wow.
And we're talking here sort of the kind of best of the best when it comes to brands and manufacturers. So everything from furniture to wallpaper, tile, anything you can think of to really dress out an interior space, both commercial and residential, I would say.
And so this is the thing, that's an absolute packed agenda over 6 days with so much going on and bringing the best of the best to Dubai. And that goes back to my point earlier about actually Dubai is now very much being taken, and it probably has done for a few years now, being taken very seriously when it comes to design and being a kind of a global hub for design. What have you noticed in terms of how, I guess, Dubai Design Week has evolved and changed over the last 11 years to what it is today, bringing in some of the world's biggest names under one roof?
So I would start by, first of all, the way that we kind of approach content, and then would love to speak about the larger ecosystem, because obviously we are kind of a convener, but there's obviously these amazing sort of stakeholders that are kind of bringing this evolution together. There are a few design festivals and weeks that like to have these big sort of thematic statements like design is the future.
That they've no doubt ChatGPT the title for,
Which, I mean, all power to them, but we decided not to kind of box ourselves in that way. What we do instead is really have a principled approach in the way that we curate and bring content together. I think one thing that's really important is making sure that it is always high quality and original design, because till today, everywhere in the world, there is a lot which is not.
Yep.
And we need to make sure that rigor is there in order to be able to like stand behind that sort of like clout. The second would be making sure that it is representative of the voices from this region and the larger global south. I think we're really in a unique space here in Dubai geographically. I mean, the makeup of Dubai, we have over 80 nationalities here. And just where it sits in terms of the world, you see that there's a lot of other design weeks, but we can really, I guess I would say that what I see internationally sometimes is that there's a lot of flattening of this region, right? They talk about the Arab world as this kind of like one monolith vernacular or narrative. When
and paint it all with the same brush, yeah.
Exactly. And like there's such a nuance to it, right? When we look at vernacular architecture in Kuwait versus a Bahrain, let alone Saudi, between like the north and south, like, and it's not even a space of discovery, because like, again, there's this idea that like suddenly Dubai is on the map, but I mean, people have been not just in Dubai, but in the region for thousands and thousands of years, and have been making and building of and from here for so long. So I think for us, it's really making sure that we platform all of these voices, make sure they're represented, their identity is represented. It's not a virtually signaling sort of aspect to it. It's coming from and of them. And because of that nature, there's a lot of crossovers and collaborations that happen too. So for example, we had last year a Filipino architect and an Emirati architect coming together to do something. And like when you have those sort of like that kind of culture traverse, there's a lot of fun things that can come out of it.
And it feels like Dubai is like the only place you can do something like that because of what Dubai is and who lives here.
I'm a product of that myself. Yeah. I think I was telling you earlier, my mother is Filipino, my dad is half Italian, half Eritrean. So, and a lot of beautiful things can come out of those mixtures.
Clearly.
No, I meant from like...
Very good.
That was not a nod to myself, I'm sorry.
It absolutely was. Don't worry, we'll accept it. Let's just talk a bit about why designer, why Dubai though, and why these big organizations are now taking Dubai more seriously, and given the kind of work that you do, why is it that they're coming to you and saying, we want to be a part of Dubai Design Week now?
I think it's a combination of things. Obviously, if I had to look back at it from 10 years ago and sort of that evolution, which you had asked earlier, and like what I've seen changed, I mean, if I had to be quite frank, we pretty much still had an import culture, and not just in design, but across a lot of industries. And it's been so fascinating to see how in typical Dubai or UAE style, that sort of evolving at such a quick pace, but in still a thoughtful way. So, you know, you've got great academic institutions that have come out that have really invested in their faculty, in their spaces, in their labs, and like kind of nurturing that new emerging talent. You've got cultural institutions which are looking to bridge that gap between education into the practical world. For example, there's something called Tashkil from a cultural institution here in Dubai, and each year they take a cohort of different designers and really work with them closely to help them develop all of their skill sets that culminates at Dubai Design Week. And then you have things like the government itself, which are coming up with new grants, new policies in order to support that ecosystem. And I think also just from the nature where we are today, a lot of the fun mega projects are in Dubai or Dubai adjacent. And so this is really the space to be. And we see that a lot in Dubai Design Week. Obviously, we have our own community, but for a lot of people internationally, they use it as a space to kind of put a calling card to enter into the market, to network, and also to understand like what is the pulse here, because something that can work in a market somewhere else might not be the same here.
And then, so do you see that the week has a kind of a local celebration? Is it a regional hub, or do you truly see it as this global showcase now?
I think it's definitely a global showcase, but I think what we're also reticent of making sure that it is representative of all of these different geographies and cultures, and also skill sets, right? So we are at the end of the day a festival, and it takes place over 6 days. I would say that in terms of its makeup, the first couple of days are more design, sort of industry focused in terms of a lot of like architects coming in, and so a lot of exchange that happens at that level. And then as we get through into the weekend, we have things which are kind of geared towards, you know, families and children to make sure that we're introducing design to them. So yeah, I think it's a mix of everything.
You mentioned earlier that kind of Dubai before or has kind of been growing as a place where things come in, where it's importing a lot of things, and that's relatable to business in particular. You know, big companies coming into Dubai and setting up here. But now we are seeing homegrown businesses in particular, and I'm sure in the term of designers as well, now actually taking their work and taking it on the global stage and going into other countries and exporting their ideas to other countries. How much of a role has Dubai Design Week over the last 11 years played in that, and how important is that people from here, homegrown people and organizations, are taking their stories abroad?
Well, for us, it's always been a really important factor that we try to see how we can do our humble part in supporting. I would even mention that when we talk about homegrown, even the sort of like resources that were available were not so defined before. Now we have a much stronger manufacturing capability here. So when we say homegrown, it's not even just the ideas, but also the building and making of, as well as like the kind of intersection of that, even with like local materials as well, and seeing how we can move it out of like a sort of more heritage space and how that can be translated into a more contemporary space. And Dubai Design Week does play a role in that sense because, as I said, it really is the kind of key moment when both the regional and international players come together. And we've seen so many instances where we've had these amazing emerging talent, like showcasing in more humble ways, I would say. And then the next year, they're suddenly part of the roster.
Because it's been picked up by an international organization.
And that's also what they want to see. It's exciting, right? It's great to see have and represent so many different voices on an international platform.
Does that happen a lot in the design world, where you have big names picking up smaller, very kind of rustic regional products and names and kind of taking them under their wing a bit? Is that how it works in the design world?
So, first of all, there's a lot of different mentorship programs that happen any which way. And I think, and that happens both at an academic level, but then also through Design Week and some of our programs, as well as, like, as I said, all of these other sort of institutions that come together to try to create that ecosystem. I would say that it's definitely through that engagement that sometimes it's instant and sometimes these are like slow burns, I would say. And I think what is really great is because on one side we talk about design and picking that up, but there's a plethora of different skill sets that are needed in order to be a part of this in terms of a career, right? It's about IP, it's about how do you market yourself, it's like how do you position. And so by bringing these kind of like different stakeholders together, this helps just kind of build the whole ecosystem. And it's not just international, there's incredibly established designers from the region and from here who've been in, the likes of an Al-Jud Luta is an incredible Emirati designer, or Nada Debs from Lebanon, and they've already made a mark externally. And like what's amazing is that they're really uplifting like the next generation behind them.
We often think, Natasha, as designers, in a very kind of artistic sense, right? But how important is kind of design thinking to business and also innovation, particularly here in Dubai?
So I think that's also one of the evolutions I've seen any which way, and for me, it's something I'm also personally passionate about, having come from a philanthropy background. I failed to mention earlier that one of the kind of things that we really look at is what is design's role in achieving a sort of better collective common future, and that is through the lens of sustainability. And we're seeing some really amazing things coming out of that space. For example, in D3, there's the first materials library started by this founder. It's a not-for-profit, and he's got a fantastic collection of materials made from like contact lenses to eggshells. There's even a manufacturer here, this amazing collective called Art Collective, and they started producing material out of date seeds and date form because we're moving out of obviously aesthetic form and function are important, but it's also building with purpose, and also the fact that these are kind of timely global challenges that we need to address.
And this is all innovation.
100%. Yeah. And through iteration as well. So a lot of it is prototyping, and that's again the good thing about a space like Dubai. There is opportunity to fail, and you need to do it, and you fail quickly in order to see how we can bring that forward.
What role does design play in kind of building the UAE's cultural economy? What have you noticed in design's kind of specific involvement in building the economy when it comes to culture?
This is where I'm going to have to read off my sheet so I don't
Please
get the
do.
numbers wrong. But I have here, Dubai's creative industries contributed to 21.9 billion dirhams in GDP in 2022. So that was 4.6% of the economy. And like the UAE cultural and creative industry strategy is aiming for that to be 5% by 2031, and Dubai is already there. So it is incredibly important, and we see that as well with like, I guess you could say a lot of our supporter is the Dubai Culture and Arts Authority. They're a fantastic patron when it comes to really looking at it from a holistic level, whether that's policy making, grant giving, recognition, bringing talent from here and showcasing them on international platforms, or supporting, events like us or programs like us. So
That's so interesting. Those figures. I mean, they're huge numbers and
Yeah.
and huge contribution to the economy here in Dubai. Where is that coming from? Is that coming from it's because when we think of and you go into specific areas and you've got workshops working away throughout the night. I've been to, go to get my car repaired, and I just see like one time I went to go get my car repaired and I went to pick it up 5 days later, and they started off with this small kind of set design. I think they were designing a set for a TV show.
Yeah.
And I went back 5 days later and this whole thing was pretty much built. And I was like, dude, this has happened so quick, and it looked so beautiful
Yeah.
as well. I mean, is this all of these kind of spaces that are doing all this kind of work, that are contributing to the economy?
yeah, and I guess again, like when we say design, it is a bit of an umbrella, right? So we're talking everything from like architecture, graphic designers, interior designers, urban planners, landscape architecture. So there is a plethora, and even at the intersect of that, of course, is fashion. To some extent, food as well. And what I really appreciate you saying is that there's also the non-formal designers that exist out there as well, right? They haven't necessarily gone through like the kind of like typical streams to become a designer, but very much what they do is design.
Yeah. There's a lot of that out
yeah.
here in Dubai, and I'm wondering whether that kind of contributes a lot to the economy as well, and it does come under the umbrella of design at the end of the day.
And also just because of the nature of Dubai at large, like, in the last few years, all of the kind of, with the real estate projects that are happening, both commercial and residential, the influx of people coming in. So at Downtown Design, for example, the fair I mentioned with all of these brands and manufacturers, typically it is B2B. In fact, we have a Trade Connect program. We have people flying in from all over the region to come and like put in these like big orders, but it's also very much B2C. And so, we'll have people walking in who happen to have bought 5 homes in Dubai, and they want to kit it out with the best of the best. So I think it's just like a whole sort of like plethora of different things coming together that really is shaping that economy.
And it feels to me in particular, and you will know better, that there is just so much more creativity and the space to be creative here in Dubai as well. Is that something that you've been seeing?
Yeah, so we're part of the Art Dubai group. So actually we also have our kind of initial event is Art Dubai, and that's the leading art fair in the Middle East. So it has been an absolute pleasure because we get to kind of see people starting at like the early career and then growing up, and then also having all these international people come in. But again, I think it's always been there. I think there's just been a lot of enablement that has happened through, as I said, these various stakeholders, and a lot of support through these different kind of interventions that we have coming in.
Natasha Carella is with us. She is the organizer of Dubai Design Week. Is that the right title? What's your official Dubai Design Week title?
It is. Oh, me. Okay. I was like, yeah, that's what the name is at the event. I'm the director of Dubai Design Week.
She's the director of Dubai Design Week. Sticking with us, Natasha, we're just going to get the news headlines. Got so much to talk to you about. I want to talk a bit about community and accessibility to design. And I also want you to get your crystal ball out as well to have a bit of a think about what Dubai looks like in the future in terms of design as well. So we'll touch on those topics very shortly. Coming up to 1:30 here on Mira Business FM. This is DayBreak with me, Inzamam Rashid. We'll get the news coming up next.
Mira Business FM.
Welcome back to Mira Business FM. Just gone 1:37, around 23 minutes left of today's show with you up until 2 o'clock this afternoon, Daybreak with me, Inzamam Rashid. Let's continue our conversation with Natasha Carella. She is the director of Dubai Design Week and is just an all-round design geek, I think it's probably fair to, art geek as well, it's fair to say, who's giving us a bit of insight into what and how Dubai has developed over the years in terms of when we're talking about design. I want to talk specifically, Natasha, about other major design hubs in the world, London, Milan, Paris as well. Where does Dubai fit on the kind of global design map?
So I'm proud to say that we are considered in the top 10 design weeks. So we very much in line with all of the global ones as well. I think, listen, it's not in tension with anyone. I think we all have a kind of common role to play. We've collaborated with many design weeks in the past and actually want to continue doing that because I think exciting things can only come out of that, right? So the world is globalized at this stage, and we each have our role to play. For us, as I said, it's really making sure that we're bringing all of these different touch points from across the Gulf and the wider region into a space and a platform in which international can engage. And then for us, like even building beyond that, you know, for example, we have something called the UAE Designer Exhibition, which is just for UAE-based designers, and they have a booth at Downtown Design. They showed at Maison Objet in Paris just last year. So I think it's really making sure that there's this continuous exchange, or even in talks, programs, different sorts of like other interventions, we continue to like work together collaboratively.
And is it, you know, is it constantly growing and developing here in Dubai? And do you kind of see it being a leader? Do you kind of see it being the capital of design eventually?
I do. I think just because, again, of the nature of Dubai, it's not limited with any. They don't box themselves in here, do they?
It's just go
exactly,
all the time.
Exactly. But I think it's now done. I think it was the nature of what was needed in order for this phenomenal growth of what Dubai is today. I think now there is a little bit more pause and thought that is put into these things, but it's still not bogged down by any sort of like bureaucratic or kind of lengthy processes. Obviously, this is done within the parameters that ensures kind of a safe approach to things, but it's just such an exciting space to be in across all of those design disciplines.
Obviously, we've seen over the years, and this is what we talk about a lot here on Mira Business FM, is how Dubai has developed economically, commercially, you know, from a business perspective. How important do you think it is that Dubai now positions itself as a cultural capital as well as the kind of economy and business side of things as well for design?
So I think it's really important. First of all, it does contribute to the economy, and as I said in those numbers earlier, and I think it's in line with the ambitions for space, right? When we talk about design, there's also city building. There is the nuance of infrastructure, you know, road infrastructure, transport, just everything that you can think of that brings a whole society together is done through design. And I think in order for it to kind of continue to evolve in that right way, you're going to need all of these designers and thinkers engaging in that space. So I think the sky's the limit, really, when it comes to these things.
And how important, sorry, I want to go back to community and accessibility, something that we kind of touched on earlier, but I want to get into a bit more. How do you think, firstly, that Dubai Design Week, obviously, which you are in charge of, helps build a sense of community amongst creatives that are already here in Dubai? Is that what it's there for?
Oh, 100%. We try to bring, and when we say community, it's so many different types of community, right? So it's everything from students through to the kind of cool kids as well. They always are really important, as well as like business. As I said, we have something called the Trade Connect program, which brings all of the sort of like business-minded people together. And again, this is their chance to really engage with each other, exchange ideas, present things that have culminated over the years. And so I think we try to platform all of these things together in that one space. I will also say in terms of community and inclusivity, is that we also try to see how we can include design that, you know, for people that couldn't physically be here as well. And I'll give a very, an example of that is we have this program with United Nations Refugee Agency, and obviously, they look after, like, there's the largest refugee population actually in the Middle East, I think over 20 million. And when you leave your home, a lot of what you have with you are your skill sets. So there's a lot of artisans. And so whilst they can't physically be here, what we've done is created like a financial stream and revenue access by making sure those products are also shown and sold at Dubai Design Week in order to create livelihood.
Interesting. When it comes to accessibility and inclusivity as well, is design, still seen, particularly here in Dubai, is it still seen as a bit of a niche or a luxury, or is it becoming more accessible to the wider public? Because when I kind of think of Dubai, and maybe this is me growing up in the UK, I kind of see it as, for people who, have the money to kind of invest in design and also to kind of have the time and the space to study design as well, and the financial backing to go into that. Is it still seen as a bit of a niche and a luxury, or is Dubai kind of approaching it differently?
There's always going to be that space, right? When we talk about collectible design or really getting like the best, highest quality, most expensive products into a space, and that will always continue to be there. And I think it's an important part of it as well. But design is everything, right? We have designers coming in that just make zines, for example, and that in itself is design. We have one of our other programs is called Prototypes for Humanity, and that is the largest convening of student projects from over 700 universities, from your MIT, Stanford, Cambridge, Oxford, to like the best universities in China and Taiwan. And these are designed projects looking to solve humanity's challenges, whether that's climate or medical. So I think, like, when we talk about design, like, yes, you're right, like there's design with a capital D, but it really is something that intersects in every aspect of our life.
And I guess kind of on the community aspect as well, what is being done, and what do you think more can be done? Because I know you work on your philanthropy side and kind of the giving backside thing as well. What do you think more can be done to engage schools, universities, young talent with a design and career path? Because I kind of feel it maybe isn't something that you think as a young kid, I want to grow up and I want to be a designer. Is more and more of that happening out here in the UAE?
Yes, actually. So first of all, a few years ago, they started the Dubai Institute of Design and Innovation, which has its campus actually in D3, which is purely focused on design. And they have an incredible outreach program across schools. And that, again, is making sure that there is that sort of accessibility to design, to kind of give people this, open their eyes to what the opportunities can be in terms of a career there. As I said, there's already a plethora of different sort of programs and incentives that are in place, but I think that can only grow from here.
Let's look at the future then, and I asked you to get your crystal ball out. I'm sure it's a very nice crystal ball as well, giving it to you. What do you think the next 5 to 10 years of design will look like in Dubai?
Well, I think it's definitely going to convene or intersect a lot more with like climate goals. I think now there is this sense of urgency on how we are considering the way that we build and make, and that will inform a lot of different projects that are coming up. I see it also in terms of policy making. The Ministry of Culture is going to be putting out a paper looking at the intersect of design in the space and sustainability. I think we have to wrestle with AI and seeing how that can be a tool that can enhance or be used to its best ability while still remaining human-centered.
Do you think it can?
It's a difficult one because right now I think like if I had to speak on behalf of creatives, there's a lot of distress, I would say, because a lot of what AI is reproducing or putting back to you is pretty much taken from what is existing anywhere, which was created by humans.
Yes, so it's using information that's available.
So, and I think there's still a lot that needs to be learned and understood and honored in terms of what that relationship looked like. What does IP look like these days? What does an original design look like these days? And so I think those are those can only be had through conversations and again through iterations. And I think what we'll also be seeing a lot more, and we've already started seeing that, but there's a lot more export of design from here and from the wider region into international spaces.
Look, it's been a real pleasure to speak to you, Natasha, and getting an insight into what the design world is like here in the UAE. We're, of course, speaking to you from the Art of Living Mall, so it probably couldn't have been a more perfect place to have the conversation. And when we kind of look throughout this mall, there's so many odd shops with loads of different designs and furniture and all that kind of stuff. So it's been really interesting speaking to you. Just remind us again a bit about Dubai Design Week. When is it? How can people learn more about it?
Sure. So the next edition takes place in Dubai Design District from November 4th to 9th. You can find more details on our website, dubaidesignweek.ae, as well as download our app.
Natasha, thank you. It's been a pleasure. What's your home like? I bet you've got a really nice designed apartment or villa or whatever it may be.
Those that, you know that saying? I have 3 kids, 3 dogs, 5 cats. So.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, so maybe a lot of mess designed there instead.
Exactly. It's lived. It's a lived space, let's say.
Natasha, thank you so much. Really appreciate you joining us here on Mira Business FM. It's coming up to 1:50 on DayBreak. We'll be back after a very short break.
Mira Business FM.